Good evening. Welcome to the Marion City Council meeting for Thursday, October 19th. Please rise for the presentation of the colors. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order, colors. Ready, face. Forward, march. Ready, face. Post, colors. Ready, face. Forward, march. Ready, face. Forward, march.
Okay, we have our moments. We'll do our moment of silence at this time. Thank you. Please be seated. We'll do the roll call.
Mr. Draper.
Here.
Ms. Etzel.
Present.
Mr. Spinks.
Present.
Mayor Abouassili.
Here.
Mr. Brandt.
Here.
Mr. Nicholson.
Here.
Ms. Bazor.
Here.
David Nicholson is joining us by telephone, just in case you're wondering what that was.
Oh, I haven't been talking to myself. He's on the phone right here.
Okay, so at this time, I'll turn it over to Chief McHale.
My God, Dave, you've lost weight.
Good evening. It's an honor to be before the civic leadership of Marion, Iowa tonight. This is a very special occasion for the Marion Police Department as we celebrate the progression of one of our own to a leader within our agency. And it's very special for us that they are the culmination of years of hard work and selfless dedication to the communities we all serve. Not only for the employee that's being promoted, but for the selfless dedication that each of our officers' families take day to day when that officer goes to work. It is an honor for me tonight to promote Corporal Jeff Hartley to the rank of sergeant. The rank of sergeant is the most critical for any law enforcement agency. The sergeants are the ones who are providing direct mentorship to our officers and are also the ones that in the rank are making split-second decisions that can create life or death, or they can create significant liability to the community we serve. The Marion Police Department is currently sitting on top of a leadership bubble. In the next 4 to 6 years, a significant number of the senior leadership of this department will probably retire. The individuals that we now identify as the leaders of our agencies will be the senior leadership of the future of the Marion Police Department. One of those individuals is Jeff Hartley. So if you come join me up here, Jeff. Before I continue, I would like to take a moment and allow Jeff in the audience that are here to celebrate his promotion and have supported him over the last 18 years?
So with me tonight, and I'm very thankful for all the family that I have here tonight. My wife, Eve, boys, Brody and Brody. Yes, I said that right. My mom, Nancy, and my stepdad, brother Jay, and my niece Mallory. Mother-in-law, Cindy, my sister-in-law, Sherry, and my brother-in-law, Brian. Not with me tonight, or today, or with us tonight, my father. He's my biggest fan.
Give a round of applause.
Thank you.
It's time for me to brag on this guy, right? Corporal Jeff Hartwig is a lifelong resident of Marion, Iowa. Graduated from Linn-Mar High School in 1993. Jeff then went on to serve our country in the United States Marine Corps until he was hired by the Marion Police Department in 1999. Jeff has now served our agency honorably for 18 years. During those 18 years, he has held many, many difficult assignments, and he's projected an exemplary image for our department. I'm now just going to highlight just a few of his accomplishments. Jeff has been a member of the Marion Police Department's Honor Guard, which you saw posted colors here just moments ago, for 16 years, and now he oversees its complete operation. Jeff has been a member of the Marion SWAT team for 13 years, and mostly served the Marion Police Department as its primary sniper. Jeff was appointed to the position of K-9 handler in 2005. He was actually our second handler, and oversaw our first bomb dog. His name was Rico. And I'm sure that your furry guy is somewhere really happy for you today. Right? They're smiling big time. Jeff has been very instrumental in the training of the young officers on our department, as he served as a field training officer for our agency for over 7 years. Jeff was promoted to the rank of corporal in 2012 and served in both the Patrol Bureau and the Investigations Bureau. Jeff recently managed an effort to prepare our agency in the event that a tragic event should occur and we lose an officer in the line of duty. So through Jeff's leadership, we are now both prepared for the unthinkable and will soon have guidelines for our department to follow. Sergeant Phil Ford, who has worked with Jeff for his entire career, related to me the following about Jeff. And I'll speak for Phil for a second. Carefully. Throughout Hartwig's career, his supervisors and peers have always been impressed with his positive attitude, work ethic, his professional and pleasant demeanor, and his ability to work well with his coworkers and the public. Hartwig is always willing to help, and no matter how heavy the task, he always does it without complaint. For me personally, I know I've only known Jeff for about 10 months, but from the very first time I met him, I knew that he would be one of the individuals in this agency that would be in line for my own job one day. He is what we expect in a police officer, a father, a friend, and a member of this great community. I would now like to suggest we invite his wife, Amy, and the Brodies up to the front. Jeff, I hereby promote you to the rank of sergeant, and I'm honored by your commitment to this community and this agency. I look forward to your leadership and bearing witness to the mark that you're going to leave on this agency for eternity. So congratulations, and I'm going to give Jeff's badge now to his wife, Amy, and she will present him his sergeant's badge for the very first time.
We have another special presentation tonight. Shannon Ramsey is with us from Trees Forever. So I'll let you make the presentation.
Thank you. And congratulations, Sergeant Hartwig. Hard act to follow. But anyway, it's great to be here. I think most of you know that Trees Forever is a local nonprofit based out of Marion. We're national. We do some national things, but our headquarters are right here in Marion. So it's always great to be here presenting to the council and mayor. Thank you all for your fantastic support. I want to just say that I'm very proud of Marion and all the progress it's made on trees and forestry in the last 10 years. It's been huge, and you have a very innovative, kind of one-of-a-kind stormwater program that funds some trees and positions to work on trees, even removals at a time like this with Emerald Ash Borer, very important. And I congratulate you for working on an ordinance also for street trees and new developments. Very forward-thinking, so congratulations and thank you, Marion. But it's a special pleasure tonight to thank Mike Semprich for all the work he's done in Marion. Trees Forever. Mike was out of town and missed our annual awards ceremony a few months ago that we held actually down in Coralville. So I want you to know that I'm going to present this to Mike, but Mike is really an exceptional advocate for trees and the Trees Forever mission. He spends hours with volunteers, weekends, evenings. He is also a Trees Forever tree keeper, and that's a voluntary thing that he did. He also helps teach those classes with us and organizes many, many events with volunteers and tree plantings. So we're really delighted to award Mike Semprich with our 2017 Advocate Award for all the exceptional work he does around trees and the Trees Forever mission. So, Mike, congratulations. Mayor, I also want to thank you for all the support for the symposium coming up on December 8th, and you'll be speaking. I'm just going to, we're doing a wonderful symposium on the importance of trees, forest, and Marion's a major sponsor of that, and we appreciate that. I'll pass these out. Anyway, congratulations and thank you, Mike and Mike Carolyn, who supports all this as well.
We have one final presentation tonight, which is a proclamation for National Disability Employment Awareness Month. Is there anyone here to accept the proclamation? Here we go. We have Steve Mosher, who's the chair of our Civil Rights Commission. And are you there? Are you here in that capacity?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, come on up here. Whereas workplaces welcoming of the talents of all people, including people with disabilities, are a critical part of our efforts to build an inclusive community and strong economy. And whereas in this spirit, the City of Marion, Iowa is recognizing National Disability Employment Awareness Month this October to raise awareness about disability employment issues and celebrate the many and varied contributions of people with disabilities. And whereas activities during this month will reinforce the value and talent people with disabilities add to our workplaces and communities and affirm the City of Marion's commitment to an inclusive community. Now, therefore, I, Nicholas Aboasili, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim October 2017 as National Disability Employment Awareness Month and urge employers, schools, and other community organizations in Marion to observe this month with appropriate programs and activities, and to advance its important message that people with disabilities are equal to the task throughout the year. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Okay. We'll move on with the rest of the agenda for this evening. We begin with citizen presentations and comments or petitions. Is there anyone here to address the council on any issue that is not on the agenda this evening? I know, Mr. Knutson, you had something to address? Okay, that's right. Yes. Okay. So we'll wait for that. Okay. Anyone else to address the council? Mr. Glue?
Good evening, Council. Nick Blue, President, Marion Economic Development Corporation. We're here tonight just to essentially give you a heads up on a project that inadvertently was not on the council agenda this week, but will be appearing in a couple of weeks. However, due to just some sensitivity and timing relative to an active construction project, we wanted to at least kind of go on record for you guys to be aware that this formal request is coming here in a few weeks. You're probably aware of the Uptown Dental project. That is, there's been some demolition that's happened on that site. Dr. Joe Lenz is here this evening to talk to you just briefly about that project and some things that we want to bring to your attention as it relates to just some obstacles relative to the site that he is preparing to build his practice on. So I'll turn it over to Joe.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to talk tonight. I'm just going to give a brief overview of my project. I've been in Marion for over 9 years now, practicing as a solo dentist, and our practice has grown to the point where we are out of space and are moving to a larger facility. I'm coming here to talk about a TIF or financial assistance application, which I've met with the committee and discussed certain things on the building project to get the site ready for the proposed building. Just here to talk about some of the remediation costs and things that have come up in preparing the site to allow for the proposed building. Just a few things that we've come across is asbestos abatement in the demo of a couple of the properties that we had to remove to prepare the site. We'll have to remove some contaminated soil and cap certain areas in order to prepare the site for a new building. We have to use special water main material and gaskets in order for some remediation. We have to install an active gas bypass system in the new building. And we have to use a continuous membrane under the building slab to improve the site for the proposed building. And as we demoed, we went through the environmental process, and there was some underground tanks discovered that were not in the history of the site that now need to be remediated. So I'm just here to talk about some of these obstacles that we've come across and just, I guess, to let the council and the mayor know about the situation in my building process.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Does anyone have any questions for him? Any questions? So no one had any knowledge that there were underground storage tanks there?
No. There was knowledge in the environmental study from the Amoco previously removed the tank, but in the history, I would have to look at the exact study, but it goes back like I don't know how long. The environmental 1 and 2 studies had no knowledge of these. I guess they're 1,000-gallon, 3 of them.
3 tanks.
3 tanks that need to be.
Are they still on the ground now?
They are.
Okay.
So everything that you listed was all stuff that was new that you didn't know going into it?
Was not new.
That's been found?
No.
Oh,
That was stuff that we knew moving forward, but that had to be prepared in order to, I guess, build the proposed building there as versus a ground-ready site.
sure. So the tanks were the only thing that you weren't aware of?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Other questions?
So I think if you look at the last page of the application prior to the attachments, we've detailed everything out in there that Dr. Lenz has mentioned, and then also stipulated the cost related to the storage tanks is an additional $30,000 remediation cost. However, we've been working on this application for several weeks to get this to the council. So that request was to help support the $85,000 in expenses. We are not adjusting the request to cover for this new surprise. However, we feel like it just continues to illustrate the need for assistance on this project. Again, I think it's important to point out that none of the assistance is relative to anything that he or anyone else would build on the property. It's just to get the site to a point so that this, or quite frankly, any building could be constructed on the site. So consistent with what the TIP policy would allow as far as supporting these types of remediation expenses. The one other thing that I wanted to just point out, just since we do have a little bit of an audience, and I think it's good to illustrate this from time to time. So when we have projects like this in our community that are taking a lesser used site to a higher and better usage in our community, and I apologize, these numbers are still way too small. But I think the thing that I want to point out is this first column represents the total tax revenue that's generated by that property as it exists today as a service station, an abandoned service station. It has a total assessed value of about $250,000. It's in your packet. You can see what that actual number is. You can see with the project that Dr. Lenz is proposing, at the end of the day, what this project does as far as ultimate benefit to the community. The gray is representing tax revenue that will be generated for the school district, orange for the municipality, and then blue are the other levies. So I just think anytime we're looking at moving sites like this to higher and better usages, when we contemplate responsibly using an incentive like this, it's to get to this point so that ultimately the entire community benefits from a better use site. So I wanted to at least take that opportunity to, again, kind of illustrate the community benefit when we do projects like this. So does anybody have any other questions for either Dr. Joe or myself? So this will be coming back in a more formal way next week, but again, we felt like we wanted to get this on the agenda or in front of you because of the fact that it is construction season is winding down. There is a chance in the next couple weeks you will start seeing some more activity, which we know council is sensitive to, which is why we're here today, to make you aware that this will be coming in a formal way in the next couple of weeks.
So your visit here is just for information. Okay. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
I have a question. Not for him, but Tom, I wanted to ask about previous on the brownfield for the hotel. Didn't we have the same situation on that the city had we had to step in and help additional funding for things that they had found on that site?
Well, I don't recall right offhand, but this is not uncommon, and certainly, if you think about the perspective of building on a greenfield site and a brownfield site, it's so much easier to go out on a greenfield site and build.
Right.
I mean, there's no question about it. So the incentives and specifically the TIF policies is directly targeting the properties that have underutilized or perception of contamination, and we're trying to provide a more equitable way to get the properties redeveloped, and the way to do that is to minimize the developer's risk with the use of the tax.
I guess what I was looking at is this a precedent that we have done?
No, this is no. We've done this through the corridor. I believe a good example of it that I know we did right offhand is the Lebeda site. So that site was an old gas station as well. There were 7 tanks found on that site, and therefore there were a number of requirements as a part of construction, and I don't know if they were the same, but I do know that they were similar. There were certain requirements. The water lines had to be a certain material that was an upgrade, and they couldn't run certain plumbing and sewer lines through certain areas because of the plume and the contamination, and they had to put in some barriers under the footings for vapor intrusion. So this is not uncommon in an area like this, and I can tell you that you can look around the country and you can see where other areas are doing this too. And really the only way we have to assist in these types of is tax increment financing. Yeah. And the beauty of it is that it's based, the rebate comes off the taxes generated by the business. So this is not coming out of the pockets of the taxpayers. It's a rebate of the taxes that would only be there with the business building there. So I think it's a good way to assist in getting these.
It's on the additional value created by the new construction.
Absolutely.
Not the actual business, but the new construction, just to be clear.
Yes, that's a good point, Mayor.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make sure that we know that this isn't something that we haven't done in the past, that as far as helping with some of this brownfield
Correct.
type things. So.
Yeah, and that is important to point out, because we often hear you're taking away taxpayer dollars and giving it to these businesses. Well, it's just not true. We are using incentive based on the additional value that it's added to that real estate. The base value is still there, and those taxes are still there. It's taxes that would not have existed but for this construction happening. And the incentive is needed to make that construction happen because of the condition of the property, and to allow it to redevelop to a higher and better use that allows additional taxes to be earned off of that in the future. And
can I just make one other thing on that? And I think it's important, and I think you brought it up, is the construction, and it's the value of the additional, the building. It's the building, albeit we're all excited to have a new business as well. But that conversation that's I've heard on and off again is that when the business leaves, the incentive leaves, or that there's something that happens to the city that causes a reduction in tax generation. The building carries the value. So regardless of whether the business is in the building or not, we still get taxes from that. It's just like if you move out of your house, someone's still paying the taxes on that. So I just want to be clear on that. That
the incentive goes to the building.
Yep.
Okay. I think we are ready to move on to the consent calendar.
Yes, Your Honor. I make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented. Items 1 through 11, then 12B through 41, and that would include resolutions 26412 through 26419, 26420 through 26445.
You meant 26418.
What did I say?
Not 19. Yeah.
Sorry, 26418 through, and then 26420 through 26445.
Thank you. You done? Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the consent calendar as presented, including items 1 through 11 and 12B through 41B. Discussion. None? All those in favor of approving the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. Okay, there are no no's. The motion passes. You have a question, Charlie? Would you?
Point of clarification. Is it legal and valid to do it via telephone?
Sir?
Just question.
Yes, it is, with proper notice, so long as arrangements have been made that Councilmember Nicholson can hear everything that is being said of record, and that everyone here can hear what Councilmember Nicholson is saying, and as long as a recording is being made of whatever Councilmember Nicholson is saying, it is legal.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for that clarification. Good question. Good, we got that clarified. Mr. Nicholson, can you hear what's being said here?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Just delayed.
Okay, moving on to the next
Yes,
section.
Your Honor, I move to approve the consent calendar that you have to abstain from voting. And it's... Say what?
Background noise.
Just background noise.
Okay, item 12A, which resolution 26419, plus items 42, which is a motion to approve the following liquor license, 43, resolution 26446, and resolution 26447. Second?
Moved and seconded. Questioned on these? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, next to the police and fire agenda. First, we have a public hearing regarding the approval of renewal of contract with U.S. Cellular for their lease of the tower located at Fire Station Number 1 at 600 8th Avenue. The public hearing is now open. Does anyone need a briefing on this, or we're all informed? Okay, is there anyone here to speak in favor of this measure? Is anyone here to speak against? Anyone in opposition? Okay, the public hearing is now closed.
Yes, Your Honor. Resolution number 26,448, approving the renewal of a contract with U.S. Cellular for their lease of a tower located at Fire Station 1, 600 8th Avenue.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 26448, approving the renewal of a contract with U.S. Cellular for their lease of the tower located at Fire Station Number 1. Discussion?
I think maybe it would be a benefit to express how much they pay in rent for this, so that people realize that it's not just a freebie.
Good.
Yes, I can speak to that. We've had a contract with U.S. Cellular now for 17 years. The contract we're presently in is for 20 years, and they want another 20 years. Over that time, we've had increases of $100 every 2 months. They are now up to $2,000 per month is what they're paying, and that will increase over the 20-year period also.
Okay.
Does the city incur any maintenance cost on the tower or anything that, or for them being on the tower?
No, we do not.
So they pay for anything that comes up for maintenance?
Yes, they do.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? All right. All those in favor of approving resolution number 26448, resolution 26448, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay. Motion passes. This time we have another public hearing regarding the approval of a new contract with Verizon for a lease to use the property and the tower at Fire Station Number 1, 600 8th Avenue. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of this measure? Anyone here to speak against? In opposition? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Okay, Your Honor, I make a motion to To approve resolution number 26449, approving a contract with Verizon for a lease to use the property and tower located at Fire Station Number 1, 600 8th Avenue.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 26449, approving a contract with Verizon for a lease to use the property and the tower located at Fire Station Number 1, 600 8th Avenue. Discussion?
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like the same deal as far as the financial
Chief?
addition.
Yes, this is a first-time contract with Verizon. It will begin at $4,800 per year and raise every year after the next 5 years.
Wouldn't it be great if all the departments could make a claim like this, that they're...
Put a tower at every department? Okay. Other discussion, questions? All those in favor of approving resolution number 26449, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion passes. Mr. Spinks.
So for both of these, do we do them both, or do we want to pick the one we want to do, or
I was confused too.
just do them both?
Should we have our discussion? Well, I guess we have to have a motion before you have a discussion. Or do we have, or can we have a discussion first?
Your Honor, I believe you do the motion first and then open it for discussion. Just noted for the record that 5 and 6 are alternative ordinances to each other.
Right.
Well, that's what I was asking. Do we want to read 5 or 6 or
So,
both?
I believe the way you'd handle that as a point of order, Councilmember Spinks, is to propose item number 5, the ordinance that would ban all fireworks. It would be open for discussion. Then you'd take a vote. If you were not in favor of it, but you were in favor of the second one, you'd vote no on 5, and then you'd go through the whole process again on item number 6.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that.
Okay.
Your Honor, the reason for that, the council asked that we follow the Metro, and Cedar Rapids has adopted to ban all fireworks use, and Hiawatha has done differently, using the 3 days that you have listed here.
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Okay, is everyone on the same page on this? Okay, so we could take them one at a time, and we'll discuss, and people can vote for whichever one they favor, or neither of them if they don't favor either of them.
Okay, Your Honor, I move to approve ordinance number 17-28 relating to the use of fireworks, which banning all fireworks in Marion, our initial consideration.
Second. It has been moved and seconded to approve. I'm on the wrong page. It has moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 17-28 relating to the use of fireworks, banning all fireworks. Okay, now discussion.
Your Honor, I would ask for a voice vote on this.
Yeah.
Please.
Do we have discussion first? I think that this is worthy of people sharing their opinion before they vote. And
Thank you, Kim.
yes.
I would just like to know the opinion of the police chief.
I don't want to take a position in opposition to the fire chief, so in concert with my fire chief, I would pick number 5.
I have a question. How many building fires did we have in Marion? Did we have any building fires this last season
Since
of
fireworks have been legal?
Yes.
Since fireworks, no, we did not.
As a result of fireworks, we had no building fires.
Not this year. Last
Okay.
year, yes.
Yeah. I know in Cedar Rapids they had a number.
Yes,
right?
they
had
did.
Several, yeah. Injuries attributable to fireworks?
One very serious injury here in Marion.
One.
Yes.
Police calls, probably can't remember. I mean, it's
I have that here.
many. Oh, you have the number. Good.
Oh, yeah. It was over 200
Over 200?
Yes.
That was for a significant period of time, when that's several weeks. Do we have that time frame that I gave to you?
Looking at the report that was done for the city of Cedar Rapids on the fireworks, St. Luke's Hospital had 7 reported injuries June 1st through July 8th, and Mercy Medical Center had 14 patients. I guess from January forward, related to.
But do we know what last year when they were not legal?
I don't. Just, yeah.
That's the number we need, or should compare it to.
And then you had some violations of the permits, right?
Yes, we did.
How many of those?
Of the permits, you mean to sell?
Yeah.
Or to use?
To sell.
To sell. There was 2.
2. Okay. Any other comments?
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I felt, I've said before, and I felt that, last year, first year, state of Iowa says, yeah, sell them. It was all new. I think families spent a lot of money on fireworks that this year they're going to say, wait a minute, do we really want to spend $700 again? I think we'll have less. My feeling is if we go to the day before, and if we find a lot of violations, we can always go back to none the following year. I think there's some validity in allowing, certainly if the state says they can sell it, doesn't make sense to me to say we're going to outlaw it altogether. I know there's arguments both ways, but I think we'll have fewer fireworks this year than we had last year.
No, I don't think so. I think there will continue to be those who are going to shoot up fireworks no matter what the restrictions are, and it's kind of selfish on their part because they don't take into account the people that work that have to sleep during the time that this is a legal process. Also, they don't take into account the veterans' response and pets. I mean, gee whiz. You just, like I said, I'm asking for a voice vote on this. So,
other discussion? Any comments?
I think most of the emails that I received were more about a shorter time period. I think people would be just happier with a shorter time period. I didn't have a lot of people say they did not want them at all, so that's what I heard.
As far as what I would think is, this was so abused. I mean, we had the rules set up for being a certain time and all that, but it was so abused that I guess I would go for just totally banning them. If they're going to not be sensitive to neighbors and people that have problems, that the noises bother them, that we shouldn't be doing this. So I would say I'm for number 5.
Anyone else with comments?
I've debated myself back and forth. I mean, like Ms. Etzel said, I think we all have got a lot of the same emails where it's been mostly people looking for a shorter time frame. I think personally that that's a tough one. I personally don't let off fireworks, so banning them won't affect me personally, but I think there's people in the city that did follow the rules, that did it responsibly, and taking it completely away from them, I don't think we should do. I don't know if I'm for July 3rd and 4th. I've been thinking about that it should maybe just be on the 4th and just on the 31st of December. I mean, we don't need to celebrate the 4th on the 3rd. We celebrate it on the 4th. I think that's where I'm gonna go.
Well, you're
You're not in
talking,
favor of either of these.
Well, I would say to amend the other one to take July 3rd out completely.
well, you're saying, the ones that did abide by the rules, if they painted their front doors, maybe, you know, I approve of this and I went along with it, and then, you know, I don't think that'd work.
I guess
either.
are you?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is not an easy one. I mean, we often are faced with these really difficult issues, and that's what, that's what we're here to do, is to deal with those. And it's certainly not easy. And I started out at the beginning, in support of what our ordinance, thinking, they're legal, people are going to use them anyway, let them use them. I look at all the time, the extra time, staff time, that police department time, fire department, answering calls. Is it really, it's something that we didn't need. It's something that was totally unnecessary that has added to all the time. That just because we didn't have the injuries doesn't mean that, or the fires, mean they're not going to happen. Certainly they're more likely. I look at the issue of, there's no age limit, is there? Is there an age limit on when you can use them?
If you're under 18 years of age, you cannot use them.
Okay, but how do you police that? How do you enforce that?
Exactly, because
Right?
they can use them under a parent's supervision.
So you have
So that's the way it's worded in the state law.
potentially dangerous fireworks in the hands of children. The more I thought about it, the more I felt like we're trying to find a way to justify it or to approve it. I found myself. It felt like we're trying to put a square in a circle. It's just the fact is that this is an urban area, and these types of things, the fireworks, whatever they are, these strong fireworks, really just don't belong in an urban area. Because even if you're abiding by the law and you're doing it within the time limits and you're using it exactly as you're supposed to, you cannot avoid impacting the 5 to 10 neighbors around you. You just can't avoid it. The debris is going to fall on your neighbors. Why do they have to put up with that? The noise is going to affect your neighbors. It's going to affect their dog. It's going to affect the autistic child, the mother that was here telling us about her child. It's going to, you are impacting your neighbors whether or not you're trying to or whether or not you're using them legally. It just doesn't make sense to me that these belong in an urban setting. I guess that's where I've finally landed in my analysis of the whole thing. And it's not something so essential that people can't live without. And to me, the added risk and the added burden and the added, nuisance factor and aggravation to neighbors and all of that comes along with that, and neighbors calling the police on each other, is it worth it?
I don't think that's going to go away, though.
It may not go away.
Ban them all together because they're still going to be able to purchase them.
Right. It may not go away, but at least, we...
So that's the ultimate question. Do you give the citizens 1 day or 2 days out of the year where they can do it legally or not? Because someone's going to do it no matter what. The people that abused it last year or this year are probably going to be the people that abuse it again next year.
I get it. We banned nicotine in parks.
Still see people smoking in parks.
Right. But, you hope that people are law-abiding and they're going to follow the law. And most people, 99%, are. So. But that's my feeling, so. Any other discussion on that?
I just say that my response, a little like Kim's, has been heavily in favor of a shorter period of time for them.
Dave, you got anything? Dave, do you have any comment on that? Dave?
Yeah, I struggle with the idea that if you just banning, it's like what Will was saying, banning is not going to solve the issue. The issue is going to be enforcement of the law, and people are going to continue to do it whether or not we have an ordinance that bans it or allows it. And I'm still in the belief that when you if you limit it, 1 to 2 days around the 4th or on the New Year's, you have the time where you celebrate when the intention of fireworks are for that occasion, where that's what fireworks were meant, probably developed to begin with for 4th of July. I'm not so much aware of degree that's New Year's Day, but 4th of July. And to take that away when you can buy the fireworks and say you're not going to be able to use it, I struggle with that. I can support a 1 day, 2 days, or 4 days, like 2 days around the 4th, 2 days around New Year's. But banning, I think it's asking people, they're going to continue to do it, then you're going to, there are going to be people who try to be still respectful, they will still probably do that. And I think it's a losing battle when you turn around and enforcement is going to be tough and puts the police in a very difficult situation to try and enforce. And hopefully people abide by the law and do it on those 2 days or 4 days, whatever it would end up. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. Any more discussion, or are we ready to vote on that one?
Vote.
Okay.
Mr. Draper?
Yes. Oh, wait a minute. No.
That was a
No.
no. That was a no.
That was definitely no.
Ms. Etzel?
No.
Mr. Spinks?
Yes.
Mayor Abowasley?
Yes?
Mr. Brandt?
No.
Mr. Nicholson?
No.
Ms. Pazor?
Yes.
Fails 4-3.
Okay. So ordinance 17-28 failed. So,
Well,
Your Honor, I make a motion to approve ordinance number 1729 related to the use of fireworks, restricting the use of fireworks to July 3rd, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., July 4th, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., and December 31st, 6 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. July 1st only. Initial consideration.
you mean January 1st.
I'm sorry, January 1st only, initial consideration. Having problems tonight, apparently.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 17-29 relating to the use of fireworks, restricting the use of fireworks to July 3rd from 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., July 4th, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., and December 31st, 6 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. And also on January 1st, is that how it's?
12:30 a.m. January 1.
It's a carryover, Your Honor, from
I'm sorry.
December 31st at 6 p.m. until 12:30 a.m.
Oh, on January 1st.
January 1st. So
Got it.
a half an hour into the new year.
Okay. Discussion.
can we amend this ordinance to take off July the 3rd?
Yes. First consideration, yes, we can amend the motion.
Then I make a motion to amend it to remove July 3rd, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., and only have July 4th, 12 p.m. to 11 p.m., and December 31st, 6 p.m. to 12:30 a.m., January 1.
Second the amendment.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to amend the motion, essentially to remove the ability to use fireworks on July 3rd. So then it would only be allowing use of fireworks July 4th, 12 p.m. to 11, and December 31st, 6 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. on January 1st. Okay. Any discussion on the amendment, whether or not you want to amend that motion? Discussion? Okay, we'll vote on the amendment. All those in favor of amending the motion as stated, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, so now we have an amended motion, which is ordinance number 17-29, restricting the use of fireworks to July 4th, 12 p.m. to 11, and December 31st, 6 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. on January 1st. Discussion on the amended motion. If we have public comment on this, please come to the microphone and give your name and address, please. Thank you.
My name is Judy Soluri. I live at 1785 Grand Avenue in Marion. Okay, limiting it to the July 4th is fine. 12:30 in the morning, I'm sorry, I go to bed at 10:30 at night. 12:30 in the morning, I don't know how many of you people stay up that late at night. I've not been able to stay up till midnight, probably since I was probably about 40, maybe 45. I think if you have the citizens with fireworks going till 12:30 at night, you're going to have a lot of very upset people. So you may want to reconsider 12:30 in the morning. I hope you do, please.
Well, at 12:30 in the morning is really January 1st, and so,
Midnight, shooting them off for...
yeah. Judy, you got to get a life.
Okay. Sorry, but I fall asleep at 8:30 in front of the TV. So.
Midnight's usually the only time they're going to shoot them off.
Yeah. I think the idea is that that's when the New Year celebration is midnight. Other discussion, but thank you, Judy.
And we haven't gone through a New Year's yet, but I would think there wouldn't be much, just because, well, it depends on the weather, I guess. If it's a cold night, I bet there's not many people out doing it, but the way we're going, it might be 70 degrees on January 1st. So.
Any other discussion on this?
Request a voice vote, Your Honor.
Yeah, so I guess I'm still planning to vote no. For the fact that I just think they should just be banned. Okay. Any other discussion?
I'll just say, just like I said before, just give the citizens a day to let them off. I understand what you're saying as far as urban setting, but if they're going to be around, people are going to do it. If they're going to be able to purchase them, people are going to do it. If we give them one day to legally do it, hopefully most people do that, and then we don't have 2-3 weeks of constant fireworks going off. That's the hope.
But this is one of those ordinances that are really unenforceable. It's just like smoking in the park, unless you happen to have somebody there to report and write the citation, whatever. What good does it do to have it? Letting cats run at large. There are so many things that are on the books that are illegal that people do every day because there's nobody there to stop them.
But either ordinance, banning them or not banning them,
they're going to do it either way.
Same way. Either one's going to be hard to enforce.
But maybe they could, well.
That's why I
So you don't think that fewer people will use them knowing that it's not legal? You think that everybody is that?
No. Naive.
Or just they don't care about the law that much that they're just going to use them anyway? I think that most people are law-abiding, and if they know something is not permitted to be used, that they're going to abide by the rule. You're still going to have people that are going to violate it, Yes? But
If we have many, though, we can change the ordinance for next year.
I think we'll be back here talking about this next year.
Well, it could be.
I have a feeling we'll be talking about it because the state law is going to change, is my feeling.
Oh, I think it's gonna.
I think they're going to, I wouldn't be surprised if we get overruled and we can't ban them at all.
Or totally cut them out of the state like it used to be.
Yeah, the state could
Nice.
change it. You
Other-
know,
other
the
dis-
state's under a lot of pressure.
But right now, discussion on this ordinance. Other discussion on the ordinance that's before us?
I guess I will support this because this is the best compromise from not totally banning it. So I'll say
Okay.
yes to this one.
Other discussion?
Ms. Etzel,
Yes?
Mr. Spinks,
Yes?
Mayor Abowasley,
No.
Mr. Brandt,
Yes.
Mr. Nicholson,
Yes.
Ms. Pazor,
No.
Mr. Draper.
Yes.
That one passes 5-2.
Okay. Thank you. Moving on to engineering calendar, at this time we have a public hearing regarding amending Chapter 157 of the Code of Ordinances regarding stormwater utility fees. The public hearing is now open. Do you want to just give us a brief on this?
Yes, Your Honor. I did present with you, there was a question on Tuesday about comparing this to Cedar Rapids fees. I did give you a spreadsheet which showed that the Linn-Mar High School campus in Marion, with the proposed changes in the first year of transition, or at the end of the transition, excuse me, their monthly fee would be $1,110.71. If that same site was in Cedar Rapids with their rates, it'd be $2,329.66. For my report on Tuesday, the main thing, the question was asked about what we generate in fees and what we spend in projects. In the 5 years since the utility was changed to include ERUs, we've generated $4,048,446. During that time, we have spent in direct and indirect costs for stormwater infrastructure $4,421,310. We also spend about $1,200,000 a year over those 5-year period for enforcement through salaries and programs for our NPDES permit, which is required by the state and the feds. So we are recommending a 5% increase overall through the program and then a 5-year phase out for those 14 properties that are now being capped.
Okay. Anyone here to speak in favor of this measure? Okay, seeing none, is there, we'll move on. Is there anyone here to speak against this measure? Okay, the public hearing is now closed.
Your Honor, I move to approve the initial consideration of Ordinance 17-30, amending Chapter 157 of the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding storm water utility fees.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 17-30, amending Chapter 157 of the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding stormwater utility fees. Discussion.
Your Honor, how does this impact the homeowner?
It'll go about 25 cents a month.
Thank you.
For the average home? Or
No, that's all
homeowners?
residential property.
Okay. Other discussion?
We give any thought to, the city is by far the largest user of stormwater, or creator of. Have we thought any thought then to the mobile home parks paying the dwelling fee that dwellings pay outside of the mobile home park? Per each. I know you're going to tell me they're not on water meters, but one of them is. The rest of them, we can just figure the number of units and multiply that, and that's what their fee would be.
Pretty sure we went through that process at a previous presentation. I don't have that information with me. However, the administration, cost of administration of that would outweigh and outstrip the benefit of the fee. We would have to create, I think it was around 500 new accounts or something like that.
I don't think, that's not what you're saying, right? You're saying if there's
Consider them residential and
right,
take.
but if there's 100 unit or 100 residents in a mobile home park, the mobile home park owner gets charged for 517 times 100, and then
Well, I think that
it only goes to the mobile home park owner.
Well, they just raised, which most of them have already, raised their their pad fees to compensate for that.
But wouldn't that be a higher amount that the city would get?
No, because each resident there would probably end up paying more because our basic impervious area is about 2,700 square feet, and each impervious location, so each trailer or manufactured home would be probably less than that.
Sure.
So they would pay more on an individual basis than what they're probably paying as a group.
About an 800 square foot house pays the same as a 4,000 square foot house.
Right, but they're paying on 2,700 square feet of impervious surface, including garage, driveway, that type of stuff. So when they're all grouped together, we look at only the impervious area. So if you take, let's say there's 300 manufactured homes there, and they're only about 800 square feet apiece, that overall bill is less if we do based on a non-residential property.
Okay. Cedar Rapids website offers 75% credit. We offer 65. Can we change that?
I'd have to look at why they offer that. I wasn't aware that they were doing that.
That was offered after the flood, they'll tell you.
If that's straight impervious surface and whether that's non-residential or not makes a difference. But we'd be willing to do that. However, their fee is, that 10% difference would still not make them cheaper than us. So.
You know, my argument, I guess, has been that school district costs a lot of money, but they can pass that on to the taxpayers. Churches. You know, if a church goes up $1,000 a year, that's a lot, as being part of a budget committee at my church. $1,000 a year is a lot of money, and they have no way of doing it. The mobile home park can pass it on with increased rent. You know, the rest of the guys that are increasing pricing, you increase the amount of money a retailer pays, and he's going to pass it on, and we're all going to pay for it. So it's one of those things that, to me, that's a lot more difficult than the fireworks, in that it's another tax, no matter how you look at it. We already have trees on the water bill, and we already have this on the water bill and that. And I know dwellings are going up a small amount, but the owners of those dwellings are all going to pay a larger amount if they're in the school district, because the school district has no option to pass it on as an expense. The retailer has no option to pass it on as an expense. So it's a vicious circle. And, you know, the calls I get are still calling it a rain tax, wondering if we have a drought year or 2 years in a row, we're going to credit it back. You know, I hear those kind of things. That's a logical question.
Well, one of the people that called me on this said that they called to find out if there was any credit given during the months that there was no rain. and we're told no, that it didn't, and especially like the winter months and all. I mean, yeah, there's snow, but when that melts, that's,
But to be fair,
You have to understand that we're not treating rainwater, so it's not an if or then or a not or whether we treat it, whether it rains or not. We have a system that we have to maintain. We have to clean pipes. We have to rebuild intakes. We have to clean the creeks. All this stuff happens whether it rains or not. That's what these funds go towards.
The fee's not based on amount of rain.
No, have nothing to do with the amount of rain that hits the ground.
well, it's difficult for a person to understand that that is not being taken into account.
The means for the ERU and the impervious surface is a way to figure out the impact of that property on the system. So somebody that has 2,000 square feet is going to impact the system twice as much as a person that has 1,000 square feet. It's not whether it rains or is it dry, it's how that property impacts the system. It becomes a more fair system on how people pay. It's kind of like when you go to the grocery store and you buy a big basket of groceries, you pay more than the person that goes in and buys one small bag of groceries. Your impact to the system is greater.
And that's why if they do something to lower their ERUs, they get a credit for what they've done.
Yeah, any new non-residential property that comes onto the system now is required to have stormwater management. And if they do it per code, they immediately get a 50% reduction in their fee. We have programs for non-residential as well, as far as rain gardens and stuff, but those are cash upfront amounts. They're not a monthly reduction.
Yeah. So the bottom line is the fee is to have the infrastructure in place, the intakes and the facilities to manage the water when it does come, whether or not it comes. You got to have the system there. That's what the fee is for. And the fee escalates by the size of your property, because if you're putting more water into the system off of your property, it's that you're having more wear on the system from your property. So that's the whole idea. Is that a good way to summarize it?
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, Your Honor, the one problem I have is these fees keep going up, but if you're on a fixed income, what you get for retirement, it doesn't go up. And so therefore, pretty soon you're operating at a minus, and that's just not. There are a lot of retired people in Marion, and they're not being represented, I don't think.
If you were to take out the increase on the residential, what's the dollar amount that the increase actually gives the city for just the residential side? Make you do math.
I can only guess at this point.
Ballpark. I mean, how many households are there in Marion? Times 25 cents, right?
Right.
How many households are there in Marion? Anybody?
14,000, so that's $3,750.
That's how
per
much
month.
more
Yes.
did you get per month? 3,000?
I'm hoping that's right. If I do my math right, yeah, $3,750.
Well, the thing is, though, if you raise it like on schools, that's going to come through. People are going to end up paying more in taxes. So therefore, they're paying more in taxes on the basic thing to begin with, but then also adding what the schools are going to go up too. So the homeowner is getting a double deal on it. I don't like that.
The school can also, like if you go across the border into Cedar Rapids at Bowman Woods, they put in a bioswale, is that what they call it? If either one of you know. It's right
They can put in any kind of stormwater management, whether it's a rain garden or a retention basin or a detention basin.
Getting some discount from the city now, I'm sure,
Absolutely.
from Cedar Rapids.
With schools, they get an extra 15% reduction if they do programming to educate students on stormwater management. That's what gets them to the 65%. We do not have anybody currently doing that. As part of my Tuesday report also, I did not mention tonight is those future needs. I mean, we looked at the 5-year CIP and looked over the next 5 years and generating $4.5 million, and having an easy minimal impact or a need of over $16 million in those projects that are being proposed that need to be done. That's just those storm infrastructure associated with those projects.
Question?
Okay.
I call a question.
Okay. Is everyone ready to vote? Okay.
I'll clarify that this is for the 5% increase for this year, for the fiscal year current, and then the reduction of the cap or the removal of the cap for those 14 properties.
Okay. All those in favor of ordinance number 17-30, amending chapter 157 of the Marion Code of Ordinances regarding stormwater utility fees, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No.
We have 2 noes. The ayes have it.
Your Honor, I would like to motion that we receive and file, concur with TAC report regarding request for additional pedestrian traffic control at Blair's Ferry Road and Lindale Drive. Rebecca Watson, who lives at 780 West 9th Avenue.
It's been moved and seconded to receive and file and concur with the TAC report regarding a request for additional pedestrian traffic control at Blair's Ferry Road and Lindale Drive. Discussion. So, what was the recommendation of the TAC committee?
The recommendation is actually that we will do further study. We do see that the right turn lane southbound from Lindale to westbound on the Blair's Ferry has a stop globe, a stop bar, and a painted crossing there and signage, but we don't feel like it must be adequate because nobody is stopping there. So through enforcement and through possibly some additional signage or something, we're hoping to improve that condition.
Okay, so you think something further needs to be done?
Yeah, we really feel like there's something needs to be done, and we'll come back to council with a recommendation based on that. We just didn't have time to really get into the study and everything before we reported back.
Okay. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes.
Yes, Your Honor, this is a motion to receive and file and concur with TAC reporting regarding the merge lane on Highway 100 at East Post Road. This is Tammy Cheney, 1889 Berry Road in Cedar Rapids.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to receive, file, and concur with TAC report regarding the merge lane on Highway 100 at East Post Road. Discussion?
TAC recommendation was to do nothing at this time due to there does not seem to be an issue as far as the merge lane that we were considering. However, I think Mr. Brandt brought up the westbound north right turn lane onto East Post Road. We will look at that and see what the DOT would consider, whether that meets warrants or needs, and then get back to City Council on that. But right now, we're saying no changes.
I was on, took that exact route yesterday and just made note that the 4 cars in front of me all turned north off of 100 going north on East Post.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of turning going on there to
The
go
left
north.
turn lane's there, though.
There's no right turn lane
Oh, okay.
to go north.
But
on
you said
East
they
Post.
turned...
No, there were 4
North.
cars in front of me, and all 5 of us turned north.
Yeah, that improvement would have to be approved and warranted by the DOT, but we will recommend that they look at it and give us a report back.
That's why I brought it up, because I knew you were going to say that DOT warrants from the DOT. Well, I saw a lot of traffic using it, doing it. So.
Okay. Other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Dave?
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
Wake up, Dave.
Okay, the motion passes.
Your Honor, I make a motion to receive, file, and concur with TAC report regarding the speed limit associated with the 26th Street, 7th Avenue roundabout. A request from Charlie Knutson of 2835 24th Avenue.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to receive, file, and concur with the TAC report regarding the speed limit associated with the 26th Street and 7th Avenue roundabout. Discussion. I think Mr. Knutson is here and wants to address the council. So,
Your Honor, can I first mention that each of the requesters have been notified and asked that they come if they would like to speak to the council about the subject.
thank you for doing that.
She's got mine, thank you. Good evening, council, mayor.
Good evening.
I'm going to hand this to you. Each of you have a copy, so in case you can't remember what I said, this is what I'm going to read for my responses to the THC report that I received.
I'll take one for.
Thank you.
I'll give one to him.
It's not here. When I'm done. Good evening. My name is Charlie Knutson. I live at 2835 24th Avenue, Marion, Iowa. Appreciate the time to be able to speak to the council. I received a TAC report October 12, 2017 from Dan Whitlow, and I'm here to address that report. I would like to respond to the following TAC comments in that report. First comment, number 2, comment, quote, the roundabout is currently posted at 35 miles per hour with an advisory of 15 miles per hour. The established speeds are typical and per the MUTCD for roundabouts of this configuration. My response to that comment. The configuration of this roundabout is not that much different than the one at 7th Avenue and 7th Street roundabout, where the city wisely determined that a 35 mile per hour speed was not appropriate and posted 20 mile per hour signage. I would like to stress that when entering east into the 26th Street roundabout, that the drivers in the left lane wanting to proceed east need to merge into the right lane. Also, when entering the roundabout, drivers need to make an almost 90-degree right turn to enter the roundabout. You can also observe that there have been vehicles running up over the curb when entering this roundabout as well. Note, a posting of a speed limit on both roundabouts on 7th Avenue of 20 miles per hour will also provide consistency for those living in Marion as well as for those traveling through Marion. Both roundabouts would be basically signage the same. TAC comment number 3. When the 6th Avenue corridor is, quote, when the 6th Avenue corridor is completed and open to traffic, the speed limit on 7th Avenue will likely be reduced for a better pedestrian-friendly environment, but not for vehicle operations. My response, since it looks like there are plans to reduce the speed in the future, why not do it now and make that a safer intersection for both pedestrian and vehicle traffic? TAC comment number 4. One accident has occurred since this roundabout was opened for the full operation for full operation on May 2017. If I can get this overhead to work. Can somebody adjust this for me since I've never used it so they can see everything on this split for me? Thanks, Tom. Okay. To the one accident since May 2017. This roundabout was opened the fall of 2016. I observed on 3 different occasions where the arrow sign on the south side of the roundabout center has been struck by vehicles and those signs needed to be replaced. I have also observed traffic in the left lane heading east, cutting off drivers in the right lane. I have also observed this with traffic heading west into the roundabout as well. Why did the TAC choose a May 2017 date for this review? And as for the roundabout to be fully operational, that will occur once 6th Avenue gets completed, maybe in 2018 or 2019. Now, I made an inquiry with Marion PD regarding accidents at this intersection, and they were very responsive, and they actually gave me more than I asked for, which opened my eyes even more. You can see up here on this report that, yes, there's been 2 accidents that the police department have on record at the intersection I was talking about. One was a 2-vehicle accident, one was a 1-vehicle accident, and fortunately no injury. I think the fact that, nobody got hurt is great. You can see on all of these up here it says no injury, and that's fantastic. What really stood out in that report is that there have been 9 accidents at the 29th Avenue and 35th Street since it was opened in July of 2016, basically 15-month period of time. 8 of those being 2-car accidents and 1 of those being a 1-car accident. And the entrance speed going into that roundabout is black and white, which is your legal, not your recommended. It's 30 miles per hour. Okay. TAC recommends no action at this time. My response is I ask the City Council to reject the TAC recommendation and request that the City Council direct whomever in the city who manages the street signage to post 20-mile-per-hour signs from all directions entering the 26th Street roundabout, similar to that which was done at the 7th Avenue and 7th Street roundabout. I also request the city to reevaluate the legal speed limits for all roundabouts, especially the 29th Avenue and 35th Street roundabout, based on the above accident records. Consistency goes a long ways, and I think, roundabouts are doing their job. It looks like no injuries. That's great. But we're still having accidents. And to have that many accidents at the 29th, 35th Street really surprised me. I didn't realize that. And I know one of those involved a Marion police car that got struck out there. I don't know the severity of these accidents. I don't know how much monetary damage was done. But if people in this town knew that when it came to a roundabout, they're going to be going down slow, 20 miles per hour, I think people would get used to doing that. Why is it 20 miles per hour down here? Why is it 35 down here? They're basically the same size roundabouts. Basically, actually, that's a tighter roundabout down at 27th going into than the one is down here on 7th and 7th. And finally, on another related matter, I would like to remind the city that when 7th Avenue between 31st Street and 26th Street was finally completed, that there was an honest oversight. That was not posting no parking signs along the 5-block stretch from 7th Avenue on 7th Avenue. I again ask the City Council, since there are not any no parking signs along this 5-block stretch, can I legally park on 7th Avenue as long as I park at least 10 feet from the roundabout or the 31st Street intersections? Because that's the law there. I thank you for your time and listening to me. I hope you'll go back and try to reevaluate some of these speeds entering these roundabouts. They're new to Marion. You got some more data to work with. I really do appreciate the response from the police department when I requested that data, and I wanted you guys to have it as well. So with that, if you have any questions, I'll answer them. Otherwise, I'll sit down.
Any questions for Charlie?
No, it's well written. No, I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have the motion on the floor. Discussion on this?
I guess I would like to hear, Dan, what he said on Tuesday's meeting about the 26th Street, why it's 30 or 35.
It's 35 mile an hour because it's consistent with the approaches. The one on the west side is an extension of the 20 mile an hour speed zone east of there. That's the only reason we changed it. If you'd asked me today, I probably wouldn't do it again. I think most of the people that are going through there are approaching there and being confused by the 20 mile an hour from the west, going from 35 to 25. The use of advisory speeds are national. If you're driving on a county road and you go up to a curve, you'll see a yellow advisory sign that says you're going 55 and all of a sudden says 35, advisory speed. It's a very common use, so people know what it's for. It's standard of practice for roundabouts in all situations. Even though the speed limit on 7th Avenue will be reduced in the long term, the speed on 6th Avenue approaching from the west will probably be 35 mile an hour. That'll be a council decision at some time, but it's 25 out front of here, but eventually it'll go to 30 and 35 to the east. We want to move that traffic through around our pedestrian areas, which it will be 7th Avenue. So it'll still be consistent at 35 from the west approach and 35 to the east approach. We just reducing it to 20 is not necessary. I don't think it would change those accidents. Those are accidents caused by distracted drivers and by people not understanding what's there. We've tried to improve the signage out there to make people more understanding, to become more educated. I think as more and more roundabouts are built around the country, which they're being every day, people will become more acclimated to them and understand what to do for them. The main traffic through the east roundabout will come up 6th Avenue and go through that, so you won't have that right turn as much as you do now. That'd be secondary traffic coming off 7th Avenue.
So help me understand, Dan. We want people to slow down going into a roundabout, do we not? I mean, am I not getting that right? I thought that's one of the rules, is you want people to slow down but keep traffic moving. So
we do.
So why would we object to people?
It becomes almost, I don't know if the full reason for it. I just know that that's what's recommended. I know that by posting at 20, it will be just one more sign that they have to deal with when they get there. I guess I don't know what the logic is of that.
Yeah.
Well, people are very accustomed to advisory speed, so that's the only reason we do that. So I can look into that and see.
Is there
exactly
something that prohibits us from having the speed, not advisory, but just the speed approaching the roundabout to be something lower? I mean, I thought that's what we're trying to encourage, and if we want people to learn how to use these things, and it is an education process, that there is merit to the idea of consistency, that people learn as I approach any of the roundabouts in this city, I have to slow down to this certain speed. I don't know what it would be, if it's 25 or whatever it is, but
I'm not
anytime
sure.
I've gone through any of them, I think people are going through these too fast, and if they would just go through them slower, no one would have the issues that they're having. If they just approach it more slowly and just make their way through it. And I thought that was the whole idea behind it. I could be wrong.
Yeah, and like we talked on Tuesday that...
And I wasn't here, so I'm sorry I missed that.
No, it's all right.
Discussion.
We were talking actually about Winslow Road and how drivers react to conditions, and whether you post at 20 or not, they're going to drive at the speed the condition provides for. That's why roundabouts are built the way they are, is that you have to take like the one on 35th and Tower Terrace, you actually have to turn left before you turn right because you're coming in there at a higher speed. So it forces you to be alert. It also forces you to slow down. So the condition, it's like traffic calming is already there. So changing the speed won't change the driver's speed. They'll drive at the speed that the conditions provide for. So you can post at 20, but people, if they can still go through there at 35, they will. You always see that 85th percentile is what we use. So the condition of the road provides for where that 85% of the drivers that go through that area drive at that speed. Whether that speed limit is posted at 20 or at 60, they're going to drive at that conditional feeling. So you can post it at 20, and the police department can write a lot more tickets. But if it's comfortable to drive through there at 30, they're still going to do it.
Well, basically, I don't think it's the speed. I think it's the ability to yield to the vehicle that was there first, because, boy, they certainly don't.
Yeah, and we've added signage to include yield to traffic from left, I think is the sign what we added out, to all our roundabouts actually, which gives a little more direction to the driver.
There are advisory signs on this one?
There are advisories on all of them.
All of them.
They might have gotten pulled over on the west one when we went to a 20. We're open to what council wants to do. I mean, I think it's unnecessary as an engineer, but if you want to do that, you will have people driving at the same speed that they are driving today.
We're back to the fireworks issue. People will use. I mean, you still have to have your laws.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have laws, and I agree, and that's
If you
why.
drop the speed limit or through the roundabouts to 20 instead of 35, it is enforceable, where the advisory is not enforceable, correct? Correct. So, I mean, Charlie's got a point. I mean, if we made the approach to every roundabout in town going forward, you have to slow down to 20 to go into the roundabout, and then advisory of 15 around. Well, if they're not, then now the police department can pull those people over that are not slowing down to go through the roundabout.
Yeah, just don't do it on consistency, because you will be not consistent with the rest of the world. If you want them to be 20, that's fine, and slow them down. But like I said, the standard of practice is advisory speeds.
We just care about what works in our city.
No,
and
I
what's
know. I'm
consistent
just
in our
saying
city.
that if you're talking about consistency.
Yeah.
And I would hope that you would address each roundabout individually when you talk about this, because they are all very different. They have different conditions. We have a couple 2-lane ones. We have 1-lane ones. We have minis. So.
Other discussion or ideas?
You know, as much as I hate signage, I think people just know they can't park on 7th Avenue. That other metal, you know.
Yeah, that's the other part of this.
But the question is, you know, his question,
Yeah,
Charlie's
what's the
question
answer to that?
was,
Yeah, there is an ordinance to provide for no parking on 7th Avenue from one end to the other.
Yeah.
It either isn't posted, it probably just needs to be posted. It's a 4-lane road. There's no place to really park on it, so.
And the law currently says you can't park on 7th Avenue.
Yes, that's correct.
I guess for my part, I say, you know, for this 26th Street roundabout, let's put it to 20. When we open up 6th Avenue and see, you know, look at the traffic accident again, and if it's stayed consistent, we can put it back up. But, you know, let's try it and see if it lowers the accidents. And then I'd also recommend that we come back and do the same on the 29th, 35th Street one, all as well, as a separate item, and put that and see if that lowers the accidents there, because I absolutely know that one, people do not stop when they come into it. You know, I've had several people run right in front of me, just right into it, and I'm right there by them, and they just keep right on going.
I would agree. I don't think that's a function of speed, but it's a misunderstanding or a distraction type of thing. We can do that. Change in speed would require an ordinance and 3 readings. So.
Yeah, but I'd say let's try it on both of them, see if the accident rates go down.
You don't think slower speed coming into them would make people more alert or aware of, you know?
The standard of practice is set by engineering studies and by
I'm not an
experience.
engineer, so.
No, I'm just saying. That doesn't make engineers right on everything. I'm just saying that standard of practice is set based on studies and information and experience. And if there was a benefit to doing what you're saying, it would have been done. That's all I'm saying. But I'm absolutely open to what you want to do. We just need the direction from council to do it, and we'll create an ordinance for the next meeting and start down the road.
Anybody feel differently? I mean, you know, please speak up.
I'd be curious to know what the police chief thinks of lowering the speed limit coming in. I mean, Do you see that as a benefit where you can do more enforcement for people that are speeding through?
Yeah, I think, if you allow them to come in at 35, there's going to be people that burn through there at 35.
Like Draper.
Exactly.
Or
That was my point.
Or
exactly.
faster, yeah. Or
And so, I as long as you don't get into a progression of lowering speed limits that causes rear ends or something like that, as long as it's properly signed, because is there a deceleration distance between signs that has to be in place, Stan, do you know?
There would be a sudden impact on local residential streets. There's only on highways when there's a certain transition from a high speed to low speed. So we would only post it as 20 at some point, and you're right, there could possibly an increase in rear end accidents, but.
That's an important consideration.
And all the time when I'm coming west into 7th and 7th, I slow down to 20, and there's always people flying by me because they're not. So I get that too.
Yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit in the roundabouts at all.
Okay. Other discussion?
I haven't really heard from anybody else but Charlie on this, and so I really don't know how to vote. But, I just take the recommendations of TAC, what they suggest, so that's what I'm going by.
Okay.
I'd see a benefit to doing it, and I would think, I know you said maybe not consistent through all of them, but it might be a good idea to kind of stay consistent through all of them. And Joe, I'd have to disagree with you where you study it to see if 20 helps and then maybe raise it back up. I think if we go down to 20 going into all of them, it's set at 20 going into all of them. We don't do a study and then raise it back up in a year. I think we need to stay consistent with it. Otherwise, it's just going to confuse people even more.
I would encourage you to do a little bit of reading and study. One recommendation from one citizen I know is important, but it doesn't represent the community. I would suggest that each of you do your own investigation and figure out what you want to do. We can present an ordinance at a future meeting. I would suggest that we try one at a time and see what kind of pushback you get before you do them all.
Yeah.
We have done one.
Well, but that's part of an extended zone.
I know.
I mean, it's a very different situation from the rest of them. The other ones are all going to be coming in at 35 mile an hour, going to a 20 mile an hour zone immediately within an area where a driver is on attention overload, trying to approach the roundabout. So
I know you said that on highways they usually do an advisory of a speed limit change coming up. We could do it though, could we not? Like if you're coming through 31st, have a speed lowered. I don't even know what the sign says, but
we can do anything.
Okay, because that might be good.
So are you suggesting we table it, or
we're just receiving a file?
You would probably
receiving,
you would not concur with.
Yeah, it's saying to concur with the TAC report.
But can't we still ask?
Well, just basically just receive and file.
Receive and file TAC report, and then it is
receive and
concur.
file the letter.
But then we can still ask engineering to come up with a ordinance for
And bring it back. Yeah.
reducing speed limits if that's where we go.
If you're concurring with the TAC report, you're accepting their recommendation.
That doesn't mean we can't change their recommendation in the future.
Yeah, you can. I don't know what you suggest.
Maybe we just say no to this, and then it leaves it open.
You could modify the resolution just to receive and file.
Yeah, I think someone could move to amend to receive and file without action on the report.
And then we could put together a motion to direct staff to create an ordinance at the next meeting.
I'll make a motion to remove concur from this motion, so we'll read motion to receive and file TAC report regarding the speed limit associated with the 26th Street and 7th Ave roundabout.
Second.
Without any action? Okay. So it's been moved and seconded to amend the motion to receive and file the TAC report regarding speed limit associated with the 26th Street, 7th Avenue roundabout without action on the TAC report. Okay, discussion on amending the motion. This is whether or not you want to amend the motion. Any discussion? So you have another comment?
Yeah, I got a question. If you basically don't concur with the report, you receive it, but you don't agree with it, is the council going to take some action to further study this and
I think that's what we've said.
bring around?
Yeah.
That's what I want to understand and make sure.
I think that's
You guys
what
are
we've
talking
said.
back and forth, and I don't always understand, so I'm
Sorry.
going to confirm.
Yeah.
You're going to pursue an ordinance to change?
I think that's what the engineer said, yes.
It would require council to direct staff to create an ordinance.
Right.
That would take another motion.
But we want to study it further, right?
Yeah, I would say let's not direct them tonight, but
So,
in the future. My thought.
So is the
well,
council-
The receive and file will go into your receive and file report. It'll stay there until there's no further action. That no further action would require directing staff to do something, so.
okay. So,
Yes.
okay. Other discussion on the amendment, amending the motion? All those in favor of amending the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no. And Dave, how did you vote?
Aye.
Okay.
I don't know if he's there or not.
So the motion is amended to only receive and file the TAC report without action on the report. Okay, any further discussion on the amended motion?
So you're just taking concur out of there is what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion passes. I assume Dave was a yes.
We're going to move this one.
Okay,
You're up.
Oh, you're
Number
not,
one's removed.
that was removed?
Number one's removed, yes, so
Yes.
you're up.
Okay.
number one has been withdrawn from the agenda by staff.
Your Honor, I move to approve the second consideration of ordinance 17-27, approving request to rezone property located north of Highway 100 on either side of 44th Street from undesignated to A1 rural restricted in the city of Marion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 17-27, approving the request to rezone property located north of Highway 100 on either side of 44th Street from undesignated to A1 rural restricted. This is the second consideration. Discussion? All those in favor of ordinance number 17-27, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion passes. At this time, we have a public hearing regarding amending the Central Corridor Interim Development Overlay, Section 176.50, parentheses 10 of the Marion Code of Ordinances. Public hearing is now open. Anyone here to speak? Do we need a brief on this? We're extending it for 6 months?
That's correct. Yep. Just extending the existing ordinance.
Anyone here to speak in favor of this measure? Anyone here in opposition? Okay, seeing none, the public hearing is now closed.
Your Honor, I have a resolution 451, extending the Central Corridor Interim Development Overlay, IDO, an additional 6 months as provided by Section 176.5010 of the Marion Code of Ordinances.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 26451, extending Central Corridor Interim Development Overlay, additional 6 months. Discussion.
Yes, Your Honor. What
Yes, ma'am.
exactly does this include, like, from where to where, or the address of, so that, because it means nothing to just say section, or giving 6 months to what?
Correct. So this is the interim development ordinance that was created in the uptown and along the central corridor. Essentially, it goes from 7th Avenue at 2nd Street to 31st Street. The boundaries are about a block on either side. I think it goes down to 5th Avenue and 8th Avenue and up a little bit around 9th in the uptown district. Really, this is an ordinance that was established to provide some oversight and review of projects that are going on in this area. You've seen a number of projects come through for an interim development overlay review. You get to see the projects and approve of those before they move forward until such time we have an update to the corridor plan and the zoning is in place that would regulate uses and design aesthetic. So this has been in place. This would be, well, it's been in place for about a year.
So where are we on?
So I've received district regulations. I've reviewed those. I've got a draft here that I need to make final revisions with. We're going to have a conference call with our consultants. We're working with Stanley Consultants on this. And then we're hoping to have a steering committee meeting probably in the next 3 or 4 weeks, likely to get things moving from there. So
Do you think we'll get this done within this next extension?
yes.
Good answer.
I thought that might be what you're looking for.
Okay, other questions? All right. No more discussion. All those in favor of resolution number 26451, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion passes.
I'm sorry. Yes, Your Honor, this is a motion directing staff to draft plans for additional funding options related to the capital improvement program.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to direct staff to draft plans for additional funding options related to the capital improvement program. Discussion.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a problem with anything that's adding to plans, considering we don't know the situation with our neighbors to the west, namely Rockwell, and we don't know exactly what the situation's going to be, and is there even going to be money through the government, grants, et cetera, available? And I think maybe we ought to be cutting back on some of these projects.
Capital improvements projects?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
can I give a little update?
Yes.
So, Lon presented on Tuesday a variety of additional funding sources that could potentially be used to fund some of the capital projects in the proposed CIP. Specifically, the ones at hand here are an increase to the sanitary sewer fee, the stormwater fee, and then a potential CIP levy. And those were all reflected in the draft document. And so what we're asking council then is that's something that you would like staff to do research on to kind of lay out what it would take to get the CIP levy on a ballot, what that would bring us in revenues, project that out over the life of the CIP, and then do the same for both fee increases. What would it need to be in order to get us up to breaking even just on the annual programs that are in the CIP document currently?
But what you're saying is that basically it's a wish list, right?
Yes, and so this would just be a motion directing staff to do that investigation and then present you with what we would need in order to fund X, Y, and Z.
Now, if you did not do this, could you direct that time spent on this to something else?
It depends on what it is, I suppose. Oh, as long as it is aligned with the strategic plan, yes.
Because if this was found to be non-productive, it's wasted time.
Yep, and that's why we're asking you all to direct us to do it or not to do it.
And you would basically come up with options.
Correct.
To consider.
Yes.
And this is for additional funding sources to get some of these projects done.
Yes, and so we would be looking at what it would take in fees for stormwater and sanitary sewer just to fund existing annual program needs. So if you look under the annual programs, for sanitary sewer, that's the manhole and slip lining program, as well as the sanitary sewer reimbursement program.
Because the current funding mechanisms aren't keeping up, or what's the?
We currently don't have enough capacity in those funds to fund annual programs at the levels that they're projected to be in the 5-year CIP.
Okay. That makes sense? Other discussion? Questions for Amanda?
So you really don't know any type of increases right now, as this would be looking into what increases could.
Yeah, I mean, we have
potentially be.
estimates, but we'd want to do projections based on population and then, you know, the cost, because those do increase every year. We have an inflation rate in there, so.
So what we just increased tonight with stormwater could potentially, you would be looking at potentially increasing that in the future. Again.
Correct, and we would, and then, you know, we would have to take that into consideration, and we would want to do that in presenting any type of
So the
recommendation.
numbers you have in here do not take into account the fact that we just increased it 25 cents per person. So that number that we just increased tonight is not in here.
No, these are just primarily for the, or just specifically for the annual programs currently. And so those
Right.
special projects that Dan referenced, I think, are some of the out-year ones that aren't necessarily reflected in the CIP document yet. So this would be in excess, yes.
I just think we ought to finish off projects before we start new ones. Just since the whole world situation is in such flux that I don't know, it just doesn't feel right that, you know, we're sitting here going on, well, yes, and we're going to pave this through this, and we're going to use this and this, and it may not be there. That's the whole problem. And the number of people who are saying that they are looking for some place to move out of Marion because it is getting too expensive to live here, that bothers me too.
The CIP process, I'm sorry, the CIP process that we're going through is a process to see what our needs are and then to see what it's going to cost to do those, thereby allowing you to make a conscious and intelligent decision on what programs we cannot go forward with. So by knowing that information, you can better decide what services we're not going to provide. So if you feel that, or the council feels that we can't afford those programs, then you can make a decision and say to the public, okay, this is a service we're giving up, and this is the impact it's going to have, and this is the money you're going to save. So it's an ongoing process.
I don't think people have a problem with ongoing services like maintaining streets and things like this. They don't have a problem with that. It's these grandiose plans, let's face it, and they are grandiose, that it's already in the works, whether people wanted it or not. It's like saying on Wednesday everybody eats liver. You know, I'm sorry, it ain't going to happen, and we're going to start losing people. I'm serious. I just get a lot of negative phone calls, and all I can do is pass it on.
I guess I foresee this as, I mean, we can't give up on infrastructure. You know, that's something we just can't ignore in Marion. And there's some areas that have problems that we know about and have not been able to fix. So, you know, I guess I'm the planning guy. I always like to have a plan and like to know how to get in and out of something. So, you know, that's what this is going to offer us, a plan to do it and a plan to how to pay for it. So
I don't think we can stop planning for the future. I mean, sure, if something happens, then we may need to reevaluate, but we can't stop thinking of what we're going to do next.
No, what I'm saying is maintain what is there.
But we're still growing.
But not going ahead with some of these projects that are tearing down the bypass, the overpass. You know, I'm sorry, that, first of all, that would be a tremendously expensive project to do, just to extend Albernet Road to 7th Avenue. And where's Albernet Road going to go to 7th Avenue? They're going to turn right and they're going to go to Cedar Rapids. So I don't see what the advantage of that, for example, is. As an example.
Okay. Mayor, I have a question. Would it be helpful to us and you, Amanda, if at this stage we would reevaluate by numbers and years and rate these items again? It'd be helpful to me, I think. I don't know about you, but, you know, there's some of the items maybe that I rated higher originally. I see other items that I may not feel the same now. And
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything that council would like to see removed from this list of capital projects now or before the public hearing on the 21st would be the time to do it. The reason that we kind of wanted to lay out all of these potential funding options was so that you could make that more informed decision based on those figures. But I will reiterate what Lon mentioned on Tuesday, that some of those out years, those numbers look bigger than they actually will be based on, you know, funding that we can get from the state, DOT, grants, and then even just some of these might become developer costs rather than city costs. So those out year numbers are most likely going to be reduced.
Well, more information is not a bad thing.
No,
The numbers will also be refined when it comes to projects and get a better handle on those. Also, as Amanda mentioned, we have a public hearing coming up. This part of the CIP, that first year of CIP, helps us with our budgeting, going into budgeting this year. So we'll kind of need that information at some point. Those years that are out beyond FY19, those can be changed and will be reevaluated based on the same process in coming years. So I wouldn't get real excited about them, but just keep them in mind and try to prioritize them. So if you're looking at a project that's 3 years out and you don't like it, okay, fine, but it may go to the wayside at some point in the future because you'll get to look at it again.
Well, I'm just looking at the projects that are on the proposed capital improvement plan that are for 2017, and there's a lot of stuff here that should have been done by this year, but
the ones in 17 are currently are budgeted and are in process. The ones in FY18 are budgeted, are within our work programs for the most part. Some of them may not be, but for the most part are already. Some of them are approved by council already for construction. So we're really looking at FY19.
So what we're asking in this motion here is looking at those out years. So the reason that we wanted to show you those out years, even though you're not adopting those out years this year, you're only actually adopting the spending for 19 in November, is so that you can start planning for what those funding sources might be that the city would need to fund those anticipatory projects.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, everyone is ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion to direct staff to draft plans for additional funding options related to the capital improvement program, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
no,
Okay, we have one no.
we don't have Dave. He didn't vote.
Well, he didn't say no, so I assume he said yes. Dave? Did he hang up?
No, I'm an aye, sorry. I'm an aye.
Yes, he's an aye. Okay. Dave, if you don't say no, I'm assuming you're on the aye side.
Yeah.
Okay.
Your Honor, I make a motion for Resolution 26372, approving an amendment to public access easement agreement on 777 10th Street, removed from the agenda on 9/21/2017.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 26372, approving an amendment to public access easement agreement at 777 10th Street. Discussion.
Now, this is all tied into the proposed parking lot / ramp on 8th Avenue, correct?
Parking lot. Yeah.
Well, the wording of that whole thing just really gives me pause, because it kind of sounds like it's a done deal that could be another police station, insofar as the council would not be voting on spending how much ever it would cost to put up a ramp. If it was going to stay strictly a parking lot, that would be great, although it wouldn't accommodate very many people who are trying to shop uptown. But also I object to the idea of a ramp in the location where those churches are. I mean, it's necessary to have parking, but gee whiz, when the city manager came in and said he was going to change the face of Marion, I didn't know it was going to be a total facelift.
I think originally we said 49 parking places.
Well,
A lot, yeah, it was like 40,
Yeah, I think it was around 40.
44.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you're
like
letting somebody come in and reserve parking places. Well, are they going to pay rent for those parking places? If this is, it's just like the people who were parking on 11th Street, 10th Street, 8th Avenue, that were parking on public roadway. That's not right either.
So if I can address that, I just wanted to make that point of clarification, as those 12 spots you're talking about on the street, these are the ones that are at hand here. So those 12 are going to be reduced to 5 and then moved into the parking lot.
But like I said, are they going to pay rent for that? Or is this going to be automatically from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. or whatever, reserved parking, and then never filled?
No, these are actually associated with the Imagine Art in the Alley project. This property owner gave up 12 parking spots and donated that land to the city for a public easement, and we now have art and we've done infrastructure improvements. The stage is located there. So they did give a significant amount of their own space up for this project. The dumpsters are actually also located on this the same property. So what we're doing here then is taking the on-street parking away, eliminating that, reducing it from 12 to 5, and moving it into the parking lot.
So the parking lot will have 5 reserved spots for this
Correct.
property. Yeah. And so that was part of the consideration of the public easement that was given to create the alley project. So they gave up parking spots they had on their land there.
Mm-hmm.
So this is just helping make up for that. That was part of the consideration in that agreement.
But the nuances leading up to the parking lot on 8th Avenue, it doesn't, I don't know, it bothers me.
If this is not approved, the existing easement will stay in effect with the 12 on-street parking spaces. So this replaces...
They would go back to being on-street parking?
This amends that easement agreement.
Oh, that's...
How about the verbiage in it that I asked about on Tuesday, when it still states ramp instead of lot?
Yep, and that's why I left it here, is because we did change the wording of parking ramp to parking facility. So it can be a lot or a ramp or anything.
That works.
So, well, I just have too many
So a
questions.
new agreement will be signed, because this one...
Yep, it's ready for signature, and they should be coming in this week. Mm-hmm.
Well, it's an improvement. It's putting those 12 parking spots on the street back, being open for everyone, and it's replacing them with 5 reserved spots in the lot.
But I didn't approve of the being on the street. So,
Okay.
Who owns Marion Holdings?
I don't know.
Who is involved in that? Not a representative. Who,
The property owner is Dan Engel.
Oh,
Is Marion Holdings?
I'm not
This
sure on that.
property owner, yeah, this property owner is Dan Engel.
this doesn't have to do with.
Yeah, but the property that was purchased on that quarter of a block behind the dentist's office, formerly Irwin's,
Oh.
was purchased from Marion Holding Company for $910,000, according to the resolution. But then what was actually paid was $920,000. And yet, given the opportunity to repurchase within a certain amount of time, if the city was willing to, this is so convoluted that, I'm sorry, I don't understand it.
I remember why.
Go ahead. Mr. Pazur, I think this is a separate issue. I wonder if asking for more information on the original agreement would get you the answers you're looking for.
Very well could.
I think that's what you're looking for is more, I understand where you're coming from.
The two are tied so closely together. That's why I brought it up.
So maybe that's what you'd want is more information on the original lease agreement?
Yeah, that would be good. But also, what is it, sales tax of $10,000? Well, between the $910,000 to the $920,000, is that sales tax?
I'm assuming that is in that lease agreement too.
Well, I don't understand how it can be approved at one and then all of a sudden.
I remember us approving that extra $10,000. I believe, if I remember correctly, it was because we had to extend out the purchase contract, if I remember right, and so the purchase price went up for their holdings.
I missed my
for them,
council
for them
meetings.
to hold on to the property longer, I think we're totally off subject.
All right, thank you.
Call a question, Mayor.
Everyone ready to vote? All those in favor of approving resolution number 26372, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please say no.
No?
We have one no. One no. Motion passes.
Your Honor, make a motion for this mayoral appointment for Kim Gordon for the Civil Rights Commission, term expiring 12/31/2020.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Kim Gordon for a term on the Civil Rights Commission. Discussion?
A resident was mentioned on Tuesday, but their commission, it's okay to be out of town, out of Marion. So, you want to?
Would you like me to make a record of that?
You want to hear? Since you didn't hear it, do you?
Yeah. I did review the rules of the Civil Rights Commission, and they apparently do not have a residency requirement in it. So,
Okay.
In this particular commission, a non-resident can serve.
Very good. Thanks for looking at that.
Other discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion passes. Discussion time.
You ready? Okay, first of all, that police promotion ceremony today was very impressive, and that was a 10. Thank you very much for that.
Thanks for the council and mayor for allowing us to do that here. It's a great honor. Thank you so much.
It's never happened before. It's been, promotions have been like in the consent calendar, and that was it. But this was impressive. Secondly, I would like to extend thank you to Dave Martin for his service on committees such as the Construction Code Review Board and the Historic Preservation Board. The coward is retiring and is leaving his... Also, I have been reading things like the Marion Charter, which was passed when Home Rule went in 1975, and that just allows for things like mayor, wards, council, whatever. Excuse me. And I'm wondering if it would be legal to amend that to include what is allowable as far as voting on projects is concerned. Putting a minimum or a minimum on if a project was to come up that would cost $500,000, if it would go, no matter what the funding is, how it would be approached by the council. Would we could approve it, but the citizens, the taxpayers, are the ones who should be approving or disapproving. I think sometimes there's more personal feelings than representing the people that you're representing. And the thing that brought this to my mind was the Hiawatha Library situation. For $700,000, they're going to have a max 60% majority, and they're going for a vote. But they're going for a bond issue. But I don't understand where it says in the code, if it's other than a bond issue, you don't have to approach the taxpayer. And I guess legal, I'm asking you for help on this.
Well, Councilmember Pizzura, I'm not entirely sure what your question is. I mean, I think I have a good idea, but I just want to make sure that I'm addressing it directly.
Well, what I'm curious is, could an amendment to the charter be made to include more taxpayer involvement in approving or disapproving major projects?
I guess my initial opinion on that would be, I don't see why such an amendment to the charter couldn't be made. It would be extremely unwieldy to have such a thing in place. You'd be constantly having, if you're talking about putting this up for direct vote every single time on all of these items, there'd be election or special election after special election.
No, it would have to be at a general election time, which is November, and there is a general election every year, and the projects would have to be already thought out, cost estimated, the whole thing, and it would be on the ballot.
Then why have a council?
Well, like I said, I think sometimes that there are personal interests involved rather than talking to the people that you're representing.
I think that's an unfair statement. I think I have confidence in every person on this council that they take their job seriously and are making decisions in the best interests of the community at large for the greatest good of the greatest number of people. I have to disagree with you. I think that that's an unfair statement to make about
I'm sorry that
your
you feel
fellow
that
council
way,
members.
Mayor, because I don't know. I asked last time, didn't you guys hear
Including
any
you,
of
and
the
I
negatives?
have full confidence in you too. I'm counting everyone. I think everyone here takes their job seriously. We're not perfect, and and we don't have a crystal ball, but I think people do take their job seriously and do put a lot of thought into their decisions. You can see it by the discussion that goes on up here. People do take into consideration that they're making decisions not for themselves, but for the community at large. Not for one group, but for, like I said, the greatest number of people that could possibly benefit from the decision.
Your Honor, I hate to disagree with you.
But we can argue about it later, but
Well, this is true, except that there is so much going into the uptown improvement, and yet another group says, well, the new uptown is going to be on Tower Terrace. Well, then why are we spending all this money here if it's ultimately going to be...
I don't think anybody has said that. I think there's people who are forward-looking and looking 20 years down the road see that growth is happening out that way, that there's going to be commercial development out that way, that will be... I don't think anyone said it's going to be the new uptown. They said that will be the physical center of the city. That means that will be the center physically of the city. That doesn't mean that the downtown is moving. Downtown remains here, and people if you see a lot of effort being put into Uptown, it's because people are committed and see it as a necessary thing, a vibrant center. It's necessary to have a vibrant city center because that's the beating heart of the community, and that's what people first see, and that's the first impression of the community, and that the health of our downtown affects the health of the entire city. And so, the people are very committed to seeing the downtown be a vibrant city center, and I think you can see a lot of improvement. We have done more ribbon cuttings in this downtown within the last few months than I'd say in the last 10 years. I mean, there have been a lot of progress made on helping this downtown reinvent itself and revive itself. People complain that the storefronts are empty. Walk down the street. There are not very many empty storefronts. We're running out of space. So, you have to keep those separate. Yes, people do project, because the growth is happening, they project that the physical center of the city will be Tower Terrace Road. And naturally, commercial development will follow out that way because there's all those houses out there that need services closer to them than just downtown. We just need more commercial services. So those are two separate issues, is what I'm saying. You have to keep them separate.
But you have to remember, it's uptown, not downtown. Downtown is
yes,
Cedar Rapids.
But just for the sake of our discussion, I refer to it as downtown, just as in general as a concept. Our city center, our commercial center of the city.
I don't know. It bothers me with what I hear, and I have a lot of a lot of mouths out there that.
Like I've always said, Councilwoman Pazur, with all due respect to everyone, we all hear lots of things, and there's lots of opinions. There's only one set of facts. There's only one set of facts.
Well,
people have their opinions, and there's tons of opinions out there. But the facts are the facts.
Well, I can only report back what I hear, and I hear a lot.
Okay.
I'm finished. Thank you.
Will.
Dave?
Will.
Speaking of the Uptown, is there any, let's say, update, or anyone know what's going on with the old May Drive building? Any work permits for anything going on?
At the May Drive?
Yeah, the old May Drive.
Well, I know there's been a lot of conversations about what's going on there. I can tell you that I've spoke to the owner, and there's nothing being held up by the city, which I know is a conversation that's been held by some in a rumor. We've asked for action. The cornice work needs to be repaired, and we've sent notice to ensure that gets done. So we're not holding up things. It's not the city's permitting process. I think they have permits available, but no work has been done, I think, for probably 3 weeks now. So
it's just a matter of the building owner has not.
Work is not getting accomplished.
Gotcha.
The council would like at the next meeting, I can try and gather up some information and be able to present something more readily.
Would be good.
That'd be great.
Has our building department decided that it's safe to keep that sidewalk open with those beams the way they are up there?
I believe that is something that they're looking at. I don't know, Deb, if you've heard from the building department on some of that.
We've had discussions about it, engineering and building, and at this time we feel that it's still a safe condition, but it's part of our frequent discussions at this time. But with Tom trying to push the developer or the builder to get going on it, at some point in time we may have to close the sidewalk.
The concern is freeze thaw, and yes, we're close.
Those of us that have been around remember when the front of the theater fell.
I do have a question. Is that okay?
A question?
Go ahead.
I just wanted to compliment the police department for your promotion, and thank you guys and the firemen too, for the people that are 24/7 people. that are out there. I know I hear sirens in the middle of the night, knowing, you guys are on duty. But I got to tell you, Chief, you better watch your job. That guy, that guy's good. And the other comment is that I hope that rifle that the color guard had wasn't the new ones that we purchased a few years ago.
Yeah, I was just wondering about the fireworks. Do you think the fees and the fines are going to stay the same? Have you thought about that?
The fines are set by the state.
Oh, okay.
In the state law, and it's $250 for most of the violations.
Okay.
Maybe 1,000.
Yes, Mayor. Interesting dental office. 1890, the only new building built in Marion, Iowa, was for a dental office for Dr. Booth. And that same year, interestingly, the Milwaukee Road had put in new steel tracks, and they set speed records from Chicago to Omaha, taking passengers and mail. And for the first year, they had lighted passenger cars. So 1890. But the big thing, and what I brought it up, is on Tuesday night we talked about bicycles and the new bicycle paths and what have you. Well, in 1880, they came out with what they called a safety bicycle. And that was the first year a bicycle had two tires the same size. Prior to that, you had a large one and a small one. And they're very difficult to ride. And they came out with one, and if you go to the History Center, you'll see a bicycle over there with a wooden frame. And this is from the safety bicycle era. And in that time period, remember we're talking 1880s, when that bicycle come out, they sold from $40 to $100. That was lots and lots of money when you considered a few years later a car could be bought for $500 or $600. So those were big items. The other thing that I read was that the city council, and I believe Councilman Bazur was on the council in 1890.
Well, you should
That was
know
the second
you
term.
were our next one.
Second term. They voted, and I don't know, it still may be an ordinance legal, that bicycles not be allowed to ride on sidewalks. Keep in mind, our sidewalks were better than today uptown because they were wooden, as hopefully they will be again. But the other thing, that we have an ordinance from that era that said, and Slug would have voted for it, that a bicycle had to have a bell and it had to have a red flashing light if you were going to ride it at night. Those were the two ordinances that passed in the 1890s concerning bicycles. So,
And I'm still trying to do it.
so that's all I have this evening, Mayor. But we're doing the bicycle thing all over again, and I thought it was interesting to see what they amounted to in the good old days.
Okay, I thought I'd just kind of share what I've been up to since the last council meeting, out representing the city. I sat on a panel discussion at the Next Gen Summit in downtown Cedar Rapids. I went out to Oak Ridge School, spoke to the 7th graders about the Iowa League of Cities writing competition that they're participating in. And the theme is If I Were Mayor, so I'm looking forward to seeing what some of those essays say. I participated in a walk for seniors, senior housing in our community, low-income senior housing. We had the ribbon cutting on the Coben Hervey building, welcomed the governor and lieutenant governor here, and that was a great event. We had the Marion Process Solutions groundbreaking. We had a ribbon cutting for Waldo's Rock Park. I attended an immigrant recognition dinner down in North Liberty, and represented our city council. Today I read for students at 2 different schools for America Reads and attended an MPO policy board meeting. There's a lot going on, and
Any more to do?
always proud to represent our city and to be an advocate for Marion. And a lot of stuff that goes on between council meetings that people don't hear about, but it's always an honor to represent the city council and our city and our citizens, and to be an advocate for Marion in this region. I too really appreciated seeing the ceremony here tonight. I appreciated the fact of having it here. I always encourage everything to come back to City Hall to show that we are all one team here. And it was really nice to see the ceremony being done here, and hope that we'll continue those things. I want to recognize Councilman Draper for reaching higher with Waldo's Rock Park. As I said at the ribbon cutting, there's always lots of great ideas, and people get ideas, but it takes a little extra effort for someone to take it further and to see it and to fruition, and to actually do what it takes to make it happen. And without the idea that Paul had and his ability to facilitate the donation of the land, we wouldn't have all those rock parks. So we really are grateful, Paul. And then, of course, our amazing staff then took it from there and did what they did with it. And if you haven't been out to this park, it's really another great asset and a jewel for Marion that we can all be proud of. So I encourage everyone to go out there. So congratulations to everyone involved with that project. I've been sharing the pictures very proudly with everyone I see. So continue all the good work, and continue reaching higher, and have a great weekend. Meeting's adjourned.